Good evening, folks. And tonight we're going to talk about some historic games, two historic games from 1969 and 1970, and compare them to this year. Okay? And it's all in a book called I Love Ohio State and obviously I Hate Michigan. But they got all sorts of historic games in there, and games that were won, and games that Ohio State beat Michigan, and where Michigan beat Ohio State. And I'm sure they also got, and if you're a Michigan fan, I'm sure you got a book that says, I hate Ohio State and I love Michigan, and they'll probably have similar things in there and everything. Now, we're going to talk about two prehistoric games that occurred back in 1969 and compare them both. This probably here is probably the most arguably best game they ever had. I mean, this is probably after the year before, Bo Schembechler, who was hired as the new Michigan head coach, was pretty much known as one of the things. And Bill Fleming, the person who was announcing the game, said, "There it is. That has to be the upset of the century." And it was 24-12, Michigan over number 1 Ohio State. But that year, Bo Schembechler went in the room and wrote 50-14 all over every Michigan locker. Literally. But let's see how this panned out. Well, literally, Ohio State drew first blood. Deep Michigan territory in its own half. Ball back, good field position. Jim Otis took it in on a 1-yard run. Extra point was no good, 6-0. Looked like Ohio State was gonna because Ohio State looked like they were unbeatable that year. They literally defeated everybody like Ohio State did this year. Unbeatable. Now, the teams traded positions. Then the score is the Michigan went up 7-6 on that score. Then Ohio State tried downfield. Was good. They went for two-point conversion, no good. Then they started on the next possession, went downfield. Michigan's Billy Taylor ran 28 yards to give Michigan the lead back, 14-28. Then Barry Pearson returned 60 yards to the Ohio State 3-yard line. And then the next play made it 21-12. And then the field goal. 24. That's all she wrote. 24-12. Now Ohio State returned the favor the following year with the Battle of Unbeatens, despite this was probably one of the toughest things that was interesting, considering how Ohio State turned the ball over right off the bat. An incomplete pass by Julian Sandin, and the pass was intercepted. But let's talk about how Ohio State panned this one out. Alright, first off, right off the bat, Michigan won the toss just like Ohio State won the toss, just like how they did there. This game, the first game they lost at, was at Michigan. Now, we'll compare this game. Now, then at Ohio State, when Ohio State played Michigan and lost, Michigan got on the board first, then Ohio State got on the board first, 3-0. Then Michigan answered with a touchdown, then a field goal. Then Ohio State tied it up with a Jeremiah Smith touchdown reception from Will Howard. Then Michigan also answered with a field goal, and that ended that. 13 to 10. But now, we'll look at this game. How did Ohio State respond in this game versus that game? Well, here we go. The game began. Obviously, Ohio State won the toss, and they deferred. So they kicked off to Michigan. Opening kickoff, disaster for Michigan. They fumbled on the opening kickoff. And Ohio State recovered it. But Michigan's defense, as well known as they've been played for, Ohio State's Bruce Janowski kicked a field goal. That made it 3-0, Ohio State, early. Jankowski, excuse me, I'm not real good pronunciations on some things. Then, Rex Kern, a native of Lancaster, believe it or not, of my hometown. Believe it or not, he's also wearing the same number as him, as Julian Sain, coincidentally. Threw the pass to Bruce Jankowski, a 26-yard touchdown pass to put the Michigan tied it at 3 on a field goal. The Bruce Jankowski passed it and tied it up to take the 10-3 lead. Then, in the third, Michigan scored a touchdown to make it 10-9 in the third quarter. Tim Anderson blocked the extra point attempt, so it remained 10-9, Ohio State. Then Jankowski added a field goal to make it 13-9. And then Leo Hayden ran it in for a 4-yard touchdown to give Ohio State the 20-9 lead. And that would be all she wrote. As Ohio State pretty much will put the damper on Michigan any chance they could possibly get. Ohio State pretty much will made Michigan pay. Ohio State 20, Michigan 9. Now, with that 20-9 score there, let's go about how Ohio State won this year's game. Michigan gets possession. Obviously, they didn't fumble on the opening kickoff, so scratch that thought out. They go downfield, kick a field goal, and then Ohio State obviously throws an incomplete pass and throws an interception. So it's kind of like how Ohio State started it off. Then they kick a field goal. So that answers that question. So they kick the second field goal. It's 6-0 Michigan. So then Ohio State gets the ball back. They go down. They kick a field goal. 6-3 Michigan. But then Ohio State, and that's the end of the first quarter, 6-3 Ohio State. Then they come down to start the second half. Ohio State, the second quarter that is. Ohio State, Julian Sain passes a, 35-yard pass to Jeremiah Smith. Supposedly controversial, but we'll take whatever he's given to us. And it was a catch. That made it 10-6, Ohio State. Then, right before the half, a 3-yard pass from Julian Sain to Brandon Inniss to give Ohio State the 17-9 lead. And then, starting the third quarter, Ohio State kept it coming with a shanked punt. I think that was Michigan's first possession, maybe second possession. I can't recall. It's been so long. But they punted the ball, and it was a shanked punt. It was Ohio State's second possession. And actually, I think it was Ohio State's third possession. Excuse me. And they were at midfield, a 50-yard touchdown pass to Carnell Tate. And he ran it right in for the score. That sealed the deal right there. 24-9. And then the fourth quarter, a field goal. That totally sealed the fate. 27-9. Ohio State decimates Michigan. Now, if you really want to put it into perspective, Ohio State ends up beating. If you take that touchdown away, it's literally the same score as it was in 1970. 20-9. That was Ohio State's revenge crusade. And like they said at the beginning of the game, the revenge crusade is underway. And Fleming said, and a fumble's on the play and is recovered by Ohio State. I mean, you can watch the game on YouTube. 1970 Ohio State versus that team up north that says TTUN. So if you want to watch that game, you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's a pretty good game, I thought. I actually watched it, and it's really long, so I mean, they got some old commercials on there that was around before I was ever born. I mean, I was born in 84, so, and my birthday is just right around the corner on the 12th, so that's for another day. So, but then we'll talk about Indiana on Sunday, so about the post game of that and then everything. So we'll talk about that when that time comes. So with that being said, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. With that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.